Hi, are you a aspiring author wondering if you should choose to publish with a traditional publisher or a hybrid or independent publisher? I'm Jennifer, the traveling publisher, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague and fellow publisher, Jenn Grace. And we're going to talk about that question and more from both of our perspectives. Hi, Jenn, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? I always love this time during our schedules to just chat
I
and,
know.
talk to authors.
It's wonderful because, publishing can be kind of a lonely industry,
Yeah.
right? We work from home, we talk to people maybe on email and Zoom, and, as our owners of our own businesses, sometimes it gets a little lonely. So I
Mhm.
love talking to you because
Yeah.
you and I are on such similar journeys and can bounce around ideas.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we like to each answer the questions so people get our two Jen perspectives. So let me have this one, kick this one over to you first, Jen. Why do
Sure.
you think someone should consider hybrid publishing or independent publishing versus traditional?
I think that is a big question. I will try to be succinct and kind of just cut to the chase. I think that hybrid and independent in self-publishing, those are a far more advantageous path if you are looking for creative control, editorial control, and ownership over your work ultimately. I think that it boils down to those 3 points. There's a lot of nuance in between all of that, but that's really kind of the crux of it. You have more ownership and control.
That's really good, Jen. And I think a lot of authors don't realize how important that is until they start down this journey. And then they
Mhm.
realize, oh, wow, this is my book baby. This is a big
Yeah.
deal. And
Yeah.
so I think your answer was fantastic. And I'm going to just add one thing, and that's time. Because
Oh,
if someone was to hire you at Publisher Purpose or me at Bright Communications, we could have their book out in a couple of months. If they try to go that traditional route, it could take months or years or never to get that
yeah.
book published, right? Because you need to find an agent. The agent has to work with you. The agent has to try to get a deal and negotiate. And literally, your book could be out in maybe 2027. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of authors kind of come into the conversation where they have a dream of traditionally publishing because it's really the only path that they're aware of. And sometimes they'll know about self-publishing, but they'll have a bad idea about it and they're like, I don't want to do that. And what I often tell those folks is to say, just put a time limit on it. Like just, pursue the traditional path. If your soul is calling you to try that path, don't stop yourself from trying it. Try it, but give yourself 6 months, 12 months, 18 months at the latest to see if you can find that agent to get that opportunity. And then if it doesn't happen in that 6, 12, or 18-month window, do it yourself. Whether you go hybrid or self, go for it.
absolutely brilliant, Jen. And the other thing I often advise authors when they come to me with this conversation is walk down the parallel path. Like, go ahead and pursue that traditional deal. Awesome. But at the same time, why don't you work on creating a book proposal, which is going to help yourself, even if you hire me or publish your purpose later?
Yeah.
Go ahead and work on your manuscript. Go ahead and research. Keep going down both paths until you have to make a choice. So, very
Hmm.
good. So the
Yeah.
next question.
Yes, over to you first. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you if someone wants to get into publishing, like because publishing is so complicated, right? There's a lot going on in this industry. What is your recommendation for someone who's like, oh, I want to get into this field?
Wow, good question. Well, first of all, I would say do it. I believe this is the greatest field in the world. I love what I do every single day. Best job in the world. What I recommend to people, because actually people reach out to me a lot about interested in work on
Same,
the
actually.
as well.
Hmm.
I really recommend people try freelancing first. Get your foot in the door, get some opportunity, get some connections. The best way I think to find those freelance gigs is not to just cold call people randomly, but think of what you like to do. What is your passion? And look for books published in the genre or magazines or websites and reach out and say, hi, my name is Jennifer. I love Disney World. You publish a magazine about Disney World. Could you use
Yeah.
help? I'm an experienced copy editor. I would even copy edit a short article for free just to give you a test, and then just get your foot in the door because so often it's the freelancers who are top of mind that get the projects, and then those are the people who maybe get considered for the openings when they occur. So, how
Mm.
have you done? What do you think about people going into publishing?
Yeah, agree with all of that. And what I find interesting, I also get inquiries because I feel like we're in a sexy industry, right? Like if you really look at like the type of industries that are out there, like publishing people view as very like sexy and
On the
attractive.
list. Yes, yes.
Is it a whirling, chaotic situation underneath the surface of the sexiness? Also, yes, just like any industry, right? Like there's a lot. And so what I find really cool and what catches my attention, because I'm always willing to give somebody a try. Like if we get someone just reaches out to our general inbox and says, you know, hey, I'm a cover designer, or hey, I do typesetting, or I'm an editor, we'll always give people a chance. We'll say like, here's a sample that if you can kind of follow these instructions, we'll see if, you know, have someone on our team review if your skill set matches what we need. And then we'll try somebody on a project. And if they work, then they become part of our kind of roster of freelancers. But it really doesn't take a lot to kind of catch our attention, if I'm being honest, because we always need people. And every publisher, every service provider needs people. And we are all using the same people. Like we want to all like pretend that like, oh, we have like this special group of people. We're all using probably the same designers and editors, if I had to guess. Like I can think of a number of friends that I have in the publishing space, and we all use the same typesetter. And so, but that's like powerful for that typesetter, right? Because they know that that's how the industry works. So if you can get your foot in the door with one, you can then use that as leverage for the next publisher or the next opportunity. And, you know, if there's a book that you really like and you're like, "Ooh, who's the publisher?" Go look at the copyright page, see who the publisher is, then say, "I'm really inspired by your work because of XYZ reason." Then you're flattering the ego, which makes that like, oh, they're
Oh.
acknowledging work and they want to get into the industry. Like, I'll have a conversation. I'm always from a place of like mentoring. I've mentored a lot of people over the years. And like, if somebody, like, especially college students, or like even recent high school grads who want to get into the space, like, I'm always happy to have, you know, conversations and try to like usher them in the right direction. I think a lot of people that are seasoned in this business kind of have that a little bit of altruism kind of built into how we operate.
I agree. I think you're 100% right. I think people go into this industry because a lot of times we want to help people because we help people with our books. And so
Yeah.
it's just an extension of it. I agree
Hmm.
completely.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you actually already pretty much answered the next question, Jen, which was how do you find freelance help?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. For us, here's what I do is that I'm on LinkedIn. That is the only social media platform I really pay attention to personally. Our company is doing other things, but I personally am paying attention to LinkedIn. I will just go in and search for developmental editors, copy editors, ghostwriters, and just connect with people to see if they want to have a conversation because I cannot emphasize enough my constant and ongoing need for more people. Like
Mhm.
the need never goes away. It is constant, is ever present. I've been doing this for 10 years. It's always there. And so the more people that I can connect with and I can say, oh, I like this person's energy, or these are topics that they're really interested in working on, then I can kind of make the case to my team to say, hey, just had this really great networking conversation with this person. I think we should at least try them out. At the end of the day, don't really have any decision-making power over who we use because that's not my role in the company, but I'm the front-facing person for everything. So I think that just networking and using LinkedIn, and if someone's like thinking, oh, I want to be a freelancer, start reaching out to publishers on LinkedIn because when that comes to me, I pay attention to it because again, I always need people.
That's right. Publishing is a really fluid industry. People move around all the time, and
Yeah.
freelancers ebb and flow. You know, sometimes they might be busy working with someone else, or sometimes they might be taking a break. And so you're right. We're constantly looking for people. I wanted to just add something to your genius idea, Jen, when you said if you're looking for freelance opportunities, look for books you like and check the publisher. Even though I would open up the book to the acknowledgments page because more often than not, that author has thanked their editor. And so just look at the acknowledgments. Oh, look, she thanked Jenn Grace. Go to
Mhm.
Jenn Grace Purpose Publish Your Purpose website, find her email her and say, I just read this awesome book called House on Fire, and
Mhm.
I'm an experienced copywriter. I'm looking for opportunities. Can you keep me in mind?
Yep. Yep. I love that. And I want to jump us back to the first question for a second based on that. Same thing with agents. If
Oh,
someone,
absolutely.
their agent is always the first person thanked in the acknowledgement. So if you are trying to find an agent who would represent a book, find a book similar to your book, look in the acknowledgements because then you can go to that agent directly.
Exactly. Because, all of us, I think our books are like our children. And so if
Yeah.
someone says, I read a book that you published, A Reckoning
Yeah.
of Souls. I'm just like over the moon ecstatic and like you
Yeah.
already. So
Yeah. And it's not even, I think there's obviously a little bit of ego because you want to feel validated, like you're putting something worthy in the world. But also, I don't know about on your side, but there is such a level of intimacy that's created through the publishing process because there are so many moving pieces and parts. It takes a certain length of time to do. So by the time it comes out, like for me, it feels like it's just as much my baby as it is theirs, and it's their life's work. And I feel like just as responsible in some ways. And I'm like, I want to make sure that this baby goes off and does the things that we all want it to do. And so I think that it's speaking to that aspect of our humanity in a way.
that's a really good point. And I think that that's something I'd love to add also when authors are looking for publishers, it's really important to choose someone that you feel comfortable with, that you like, because
Mhm.
authors do not realize when they undertake this adventure how long it's going to take and just how much they're going to be talking with us.
Yeah.
These people become friends, lifelong friends, because we talk, every other week or maybe weekly. We probably email almost every day. And along the way, you're not just talking about the book. How is your family? How are your children?
Mhm.
How's the weather in Orlando today? How are you feeling? You develop a relationship with these people.
Yeah.
So, I'm so fortunate to get to work with so many amazing, wonderful, kind people. And
Mhm.
I have had people tell me that they
Mhm.
talked to 4 publishers before me and they couldn't
Wow.
believe how grumpy they all were.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
literally, they hate their jobs. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you want to work with somebody who makes this easy and
Mhm.
fun because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, all of our authors have full-time jobs, right? I
Yeah.
mean, none of my
Mhm.
authors are full-time writers. They're not
No.
Stephen King or anything like that,
Mm-mm.
So you already have a job and a family and a cat and a life and laundry. You're taking on this massive project to publish a book. For the love of God, it should be fun.
Yeah.
Like why would you
Yeah.
take on something? So, when you meet with your publisher, make sure you kind of feel that connection, that level of trust and like. So
Yeah, and I think this is a selling feature for independent publishers, hybrid publishers, smaller presses versus no offense to the big ones based out of New York primarily, right? Like no offense to them, but they are corporate machines with thousands of employees. And some of those employees are miserable. And because they're in a corporate structure that's not allowing their creativity to thrive. So that is definitely, I think, a selling feature for all other potential options. And it's still not to say, because there are traditional publishers that are small presses, right? There's a lot of the university presses are a lot smaller. So if that connection to somebody who's really passionate about the work, like if you're looking for that, a lot of times you're going to find it in a smaller setting versus these corporate kind of overlord situations.
that's a really good point. And also, when you work with a company like yours and mine, you're working with the owner. When you work with one of those massive companies in New York, you might be assigned to an editorial assistant who
Yeah.
just got out of college. And so, it's a really different relationship. It's a really different experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is why a lot of people move around within the industry because there's so many brilliant, amazing human beings who are in those corporate spaces, so many of them. And when they get to that place where they're not feeling recognized or heard or valued, they're the ones that are like, all right, I got a little bit of experience with this company that's a no name. Now let me take my skill set in that brand with me to somewhere else that's really going to allow me to thrive in a better way. And so I think that's why there's so much movement in the industry.
And that's a really good point. Early in my career, I actually was hired to do a book for a larger traditional publisher. My editor left midstream. The new editor came in and totally had a different mindset and vision for the book. And
Mm.
so that's not going to happen if you work with somebody like you or I. We're not going
Yeah, yeah,
there. You're going to be working with us the whole way through. So
yeah.
really,
Yep.
really good reasons to consider this model. So last
Yeah.
question, my friend.
Yes, last question. Okay, so this I think also kind of fits into like just the other pieces, right? Thinking about freelancing and things like that. Like is there a seasonality to publishing? And on your side specifically.
That's a really good question. I think in the old days of publishing, 5 years ago, I think I remember when I worked on staff at Rodale, we used to joke all the time about, oh, summers are easy. We'd have summer hours, afternoons off.
Hmm.
Those days are gone. Every day is a crazy day in my world.
Yeah.
It's just so fast. How about you? The only season is the busy season.
Yeah, yeah. I think, if we're looking at the launching of books, for us, our focus is nonfiction only, and nonfiction tends to do better in like spring and fall. Those are kind of like sometimes the holiday seasons are a little bit too murky. People are looking for, cookbooks or fiction or like a gift giving type of read, maybe not necessarily a leadership book, for example, or like a beach read, like a heavy business book for most is probably not a good beach read, right? So if we're looking at seasonality in that way, I always say like there's spring and fall, but our production is just year round. I feel like there's just so much that happens. I think the lull does happen a little bit in the summer only because our authors are taking time off, like much needed and deserved time off. And so that gives it just takes longer to get things done. It's not to say the work is not there, it just takes longer for it to happen.
That's interesting. I think in my business with my roster of authors, summers are almost maybe even a little bit busier because they may have time to work
Mm,
their book. So it's
yeah.
just like, I would say at the end of the day, this is a great industry to be in because there's never
Mhm.
been a better time to publish a book and there's never been a better time to be a publisher because literally everywhere I go, people want to do a book. So
Same. I feel like and it's always good. It's a good conversation starter because, if you're at any event or any personal thing and someone knows that you publish books, like everyone has a book idea, everyone. And it makes it so easy to talk to people.
it's so universal and they're excited about it. It's just
Yeah.
we bring
Yeah.
dreams to life, Jen. Best
We
job in the
do.
world.
It really is kind of cool when you think about it. Like in that, like when you boil it down to like we're helping people like realize their dreams, which is so freaking cool.
How many people get to say that? How many people get to say, I
Yeah.
bring dreams to life? It's a privilege.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
Yeah.
So
I
we're,
had an experience yesterday with an author
oh, please share.
who like was just didn't know what she wanted to do, doesn't know what her book idea is, like just a lot of like throwing out different ideas. And it was just, I was like, well, what if you did? And I just kind of like broke it down and like helped her kind of like move through the imposter syndrome and stuff. And she's like, this has been like the best conversation I've had in like the last month. And I'm like, I love that in like an hour. I can get somebody unstuck and then just do it. Where she goes now, I don't know, but that doesn't matter to me. Like it's just getting people unstuck and like doing the thing that they want to do. They just don't know how to do it.
That is so awesome, Jen. I'm so glad you shared
It's
that because
fun.
that's something that I think we are really unique at having the ability to do because
Mhm.
we've got that expert outside perspective. And it
Yeah.
just looks so clear to us. Like an author could be totally stuck in the mud for years or months. And you and I look at them like, well, this is all you have to do.
Because
So
it's like a puzzle, right? Like I think our brains
puzzle.
have to be wired that way because they're just throwing a whole bunch of puzzle pieces at you. And I'm like, oh, I can totally see the frame, I can see the picture, I can see exactly, and they don't even know what they're building. They just have the pieces that are like flipped upside down with no design on them. And like for you and I, we're so used to synthesizing information and pulling from different directions. And then having because we both have published over 200 books, right? Like you shared that mark too. So like that's a lot of different data points that we're pulling in to kind of construct something that's going to be effective.
Exactly, Jen. Exactly.
Mm,
I
so
don't know
good.
if it's picking up my phone in the background. Thank you so much for this wonderful talk.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And thank you so much, friends, for joining us. We do this every so often. So please like and subscribe for more. Thanks.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen.